Do you ever wonder how some people become so wealthy without owning a business? The reason these people's wealth can grow exponentially is because of compound interest. And I think every person should understand if they want to build wealth and secure their financial future. This isn't some complex strategy or secret that's only available to a select few. It's a simple concept, but it's one that can transform your life if you let it. Compound interest. Now, you may have heard the term before, and perhaps some of you are already familiar with how it works. But let me assure you, the more you understand compound interest, the more you'll appreciate its sheer power. In fact, it's often said that Albert Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Whether or not he actually said that, I happen to agree with the sentiment. Why? Because compound interest is a force that turns small, consistent efforts into enormous results over time. Let's start with the basics. Compound interest is essentially earning interest on your interest. You see, when you invest or save money, you earn interest on your initial amount called the principal. But with compound interest, you also earn interest on the interest you've already earned. This might seem like a subtle difference, but it's not. It's a game changer. Over time, this process creates a snowball effect, where your wealth begins to grow exponentially. But to truly appreciate the power of compound interest, let me share a story with you. This is the story of a man named Joe. Joe wasn't a CEO, a lawyer, or a doctor. In fact, Joe didn't have what many would call a high-paying job. Joe was a janitor. Every day, he showed up to work before dawn, sweeping floors, cleaning bathrooms, and making sure the offices he tended were spotless. He wasn't earning a six-figure salary. In fact, his pay was modest by any standard. But what Joe had, which many others did not, was an understanding of the power of compound interest and the discipline to harness it. Joe didn't start with much, but he was a man of simple means and consistent habits. Each month, after covering his living expenses, Joe would take a small portion of his paycheck and invest it in a low-cost index fund. He wasn't putting away a fortune, just a few dollars here and there, but Joe was religiously consistent. Month after month, year after year, he kept adding to his investments. Now Joe didn't pay much attention to the market's ups and downs. He didn't get caught up in the hysteria when stocks were soaring, nor did he panic when the market took a dive. He simply kept investing, letting the market do what it does best over the long term, grow. Joe understood something that many people overlook. The market rewards patience and consistency. For the first few years, Joe didn't see much of a difference. His portfolio grew slowly, and at times it might have seemed that his efforts weren't making much of an impact. But Joe understood that wealth isn't built overnight, it's built over time. He knew that the first phase of compound interest often feels like watching paint dry. It's slow and not particularly exciting. But Joe also knew that if he stuck with it, the growth would eventually start to accelerate. And it did. After 10, 20, 30 years of consistent investing, Joe's portfolio began to grow at a pace that seemed unbelievable to many. What started as a modest amount had turned into a substantial sum. By the time Joe reached retirement age, his portfolio had grown into millions of dollars. Yes, that's right, millions. All from the earnings of a janitor who understood the power of compound interest. Now, Joe's story might seem extraordinary, but the truth is it's not. Anyone can do what Joe did. You don't need to be a financial wizard or have a high-paying job to harness the power of compound interest. What you need is discipline, patience, and time. Let's break this down a bit more. Imagine you start investing $100 a month at the age of 25, and you invest in a diversified portfolio that earns, on average, 7% annually, a reasonable rate of return over the long term. By the time you're 65, just 40 years later, you'd have over $260,000. If you wait just 10 years to start, that number drops to around $120,000. The lesson here is simple. The earlier you start, the more time your money has to grow, and the more you benefit from compound interest. But what if you could invest more? What if instead of $100, you invested $500 a month? With the same assumptions, 7% annual return starting at age 25. By the time you're 65, you'd have over $1.3 million. That's the power of compound interest at work. Small, consistent contributions given enough time can result in substantial wealth. Now, I want to emphasize something important. The real secret to Joe's success wasn't just compound interest, it was his behavior. Joe didn't let emotions drive his investment decisions. He wasn't swayed by market news, he didn't chase after hot stocks, and he didn't panic when the market dipped. Joe had a plan and he stuck to it no matter what. This is critical because over the long term, the market has always rewarded those who stay the course. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement or fear that comes with investing. But if there's one thing I've learned over my decades of investing, it's this. The market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Joe was patient and it paid off in a big way, but what about those of us who haven't started yet? The good news is it's never too late. While starting early gives you the most time for compound interest to work its magic, starting today is still better than starting tomorrow. The key is to take that first step. Open an investment account, automate your contributions, and then let time do the rest. Remember, you don't need to be a financial expert to take advantage of compound interest. You just need to be consistent. The market will have its ups and downs. That's a given. But if you stay invested, keep adding to your portfolio, and avoid the temptation to time the market, you'll be amazed at what you can achieve. In closing, I want to leave you with this thought. Compound interest is a friend that works tirelessly for you, day and night, year after year. It doesn't care who you are, what you do for a living, or where you come from. It works the same for everyone, and it rewards those who are patient and disciplined. So take a lesson from Joe, the janitor who became a millionaire, and start your own journey today. Whether you're just starting out or nearing retirement, the power of compound interest can help you achieve your financial goals and secure a future you never thought possible.